Hello and welcome back to Jazzonomics. I'm killing time before the Jimmy Lunsford eBay auction finishes. Whether or not anybody will put a bid in, I'm not quite sure, but time will tell. I think it's due to finish around about 7:15 or 7:45. In the past, I've woken up at 5:30 and put things on eBay, and unsurprisingly, nobody's bid on them. Nobody gets up, sets their alarm, as they should do, to bid for an item at 5:30 on a Saturday morning. What's the matter with people? You either want it or you don't. Now, come on, get out of bed and place a bid. I'm going to talk about records and CDs that you might miss or you see out and about and you don't really know what they are. And sometimes it can be quite surprising, and you can come across some very good finds, CDs and records that you may ordinarily pass over. I'll start with a record that I found in a charity shop probably about 6 months ago, probably a little longer ago than that. And when I saw the name on the spine, I thought, oh, great. But I've thought that so many times before because it is, the name was Jimmy Smith. And quite often it turns out to be a white ginger organist who probably plays some right old nonsense. But this time, the one and only time, it did turn out to be Jimmy Smith. And the album is called The Incredible Jimmy Smith. It's on the Music for Pleasure label. Cost me £1. It's in great condition. It doesn't really cost a great deal on Discogs. And the original version of this doesn't really cost a great deal either. Probably, about £3, no more than that. But I haven't listened to this, so I don't really know what the sound quality is like. But looking at the back of the LP, there's no real information about what this album is, apart from it being live. It's produced by Creed Taylor in 1967, and the album originally was Jimmy Smith in Hamburg live on the Verve label. Like I say, you can probably pick that up for a few pounds, but you can probably pick this up for a third of the price, certainly half the price. I'm not quite sure what the quality is like, but the track listing is pretty good. Something You've Got, Mac the Knife, the ubiquitous rather, Night in Tunisia, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Got My Mojo Working, and Jimbo. I should give that a listen in the very near future. The second one, now this looks really unpromising. It is Art Blakey, My Romance. No idea what this would be, and it came in a large job lot, and I wasn't really expecting too much from this, but it is really, really surprising. This is to all intents and purposes, well, it is the exact track listing and track order. Art Blakey's 1966 album with the Jazz Messengers, or they may be the new Jazz Messengers, live at the Lighthouse. And it's the first commercial recording to feature Keith Jarrett. I didn't realise he was in the Jazz Messengers until relatively recently. I think he was only in the Jazz Messengers for a number of months, and I think he left during or after this tour due to friction, which probably meant violence on a grand scale, I would imagine. Anyway, it's not a great Art Blakey album, but it's a very good Art Blakey album. In fact, I've never heard a bad Art Blakey album. If anybody knows of one out there that I should give a wide berth to, please post your answers in the comments. This, very good, looks incredibly unpromising. If I saw it in a shop for £1, I'd probably pass it over. If it was 10p, I'd gobble it up, obviously. And thirdly, in the same job lot, again, the Art Blakey CD is on Midnight Jazz and Blues Collection. Looks, made in Holland, a product from Holland, manufactured in the European Union. Looks cheap, nasty. It's not. It's well worth listening to. It's a good 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's difficult to go wrong with the Jazz Messengers. From the same job lot, this is a compilation album. It's Thelonious Monk, Evidence. Again, looks a bit cheap, looks a bit nasty. I haven't listened to this yet, so I can't vouch for the quality of it. But it's a selection of recordings in between, live recordings in between 1963 and 1966 from venues such as Somewhere in Paris, the Newport Jazz Festival, and various other venues in Europe. May well be worth a listen. There have been a couple of times where I wish I'd been paying more attention, because I've almost sold CDs that I've had because I thought that they were duplicates. This has almost happened on 2 occasions, and I've got the CDs here, and it's sort of fairly easy to see how I made the mistake. Well, I'm not quite sure. Perhaps I'm slightly more idiotic than I realised. These 2 CDs here, Miles Davis in person at the BlackHawk, San Francisco. It's easy to think that they're both the same. They're not. There is a 4 CD set of Miles Davis, the complete live at the BlackHawk. So it's the complete Friday night and the complete Saturday night. And here we have the complete version of Friday night, which are the first 2 CDs in the complete sessions at the BlackHawk. And here we have Friday and Saturday nights. It's difficult to tell which track on here was recorded on Friday night or Saturday night. If I did a little more digging, I might be able to find that out. But looking at the sleeve notes on the Friday and Saturday nights album are nowhere near as comprehensive as the Friday night. This one the Friday night one is released on Columbia, and it seems slightly more comprehensive, whereas this is also released on Columbia, but I don't know. I think this may well have come from Europe rather than the UK or America. Difficult to tell what is Friday night and what is Saturday night. So if you bought these 2 CDs, you're definitely not going to get the complete live at the BlackHawk. But they are great albums. Great albums. I've been listening to them a lot today. Features Hank Mobley on tenor saxophone. He didn't stay with Miles Davis too long. Reading jazz reviews and jazz encyclopedias, people don't sort of really rate Hank Mobley's time with Miles Davis, but I think he's a great foil for Miles Davis on these albums. I think they were recorded in round about 1961. Recording quality, excellent. Well worth getting, both of these. And 2 more CDs that I almost sold because I thought they were the same album. I really wasn't paying attention. I just thought one was in a normal jewel case and the other one was in a cardboard sleeve. I really wasn't paying attention. And they're by the arranger, Oliver Nelson. We've got probably the more famous The Blues and the Abstract Truth, which features people like Eric Dolphy and Freddie Hubbard and Bill Evans. Who else is on there? Roy Haynes and Paul Chambers. A jazz classic, one that you have to hear. And there is this. It's called Oliver Nelson, More Blues and the Abstract Truth. I'm not quite sure why I thought that they were the same album, but I almost sold one. A piece of jazz stupidity, if you like. The players on More Blues and the Abstract Truth include Thad Jones, Phil Woods, Ben Webster, Pepper Adams, Grady Tate. Good album. Not as they're both very, very good albums. Both well worth getting. What was I going to talk about now? Oh yes, yeah. Just to finish off, talking about not paying attention or just sort of realising something. My brother gets me quite a lot of CDs from the recycling centre in Wood End near Atherstone in the Midlands. and I was rifling through those today. There was no jazz in there, but there was this. Faith No More, Who Cares a Lot. I'm quite a big fan of Faith No More. I think I've got virtually all of their studio albums and probably about 4 or 5 compilations. And I don't know whether you can see this on the camera. I shall get it quite close. I've looked at that album no end of times, and I've just realised that that's Benny Hill. I'm not quite sure I didn't pick that up. Yeah, sometimes I'm probably not quite as observant as I think I am. You may notice on this channel that I do talk a fair amount about boxing and fighters and comedians and sketch shows and comedy programmes. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really too interested in musicians and what they have to say. I sort of feel the same about actors and politicians, but there are 2 specific groups of people that I'm completely fascinated by. 1 are boxers and 2 are comedians. I see those 2 pursuits as the sort of almost ultimate gladiatorial, yes, the ultimate gladiatorial spectacle, if you like, although I should imagine you don't want the comedy to be too combative. Anyway, Benny Hill, a visionary. I know he gets sort of tarred with the tawdry brush, and he did very much go down that route. If you watch the, there's a great programme, I'm not sure whether it's on the iPlayer, but it's on YouTube, and I talk about this to anybody that will listen to me about this. Bob Monkhouse, The Last Stand. It's Bob Monkhouse's last live stand-up show with a guest of invited comedians at a small club in London, and he tells some poignant, funny and beautiful stories about Benny Hill. Benny Hill was a visionary using split screens. There's a great spoof he does in black and white in one of the first sort of TV shows of the era, where he parodies or there is a pastiche of Jukebox Jury. And also, if any of you out there know the Morecambe and Wise sketch when they're making breakfast to a soundtrack and it's all beautifully choreographed, well, Benny Hill did something very, very similar probably about 25 years before this. Yes, so that's Benny Hill on the front of Who Cares a Lot, yet another Faith No More compilation. Check out Bob Monkhouse, The Last Stand, one of the greatest pieces of television I've ever seen. It was actually on Boxing Day many years ago. It was hidden away very, very late at night in the BBC 4 schedules, and I'm not quite sure how I managed to find it or come across it. I think it's recorded in round about 2001. The people in the audience like John Culshaw, the League of Gentlemen, Mark Steele, David Walliams, I think. A beautiful, beautiful piece of television. It's well worth an hour of your time. I think I probably watched it about 6 to 8 times. The stories about Peter Sellers and Benny Hill are gold dust. Absolute gold dust. Anyway, that's quite enough for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And remember, keep 'em peeled. This was Jazzonomics.